The old house loomed. It stood against the backdrop of the night sky. Emily parked the car. She felt a chill run down her spine. This place held nothing but painful memories, memories she had tried hard to forget. She stepped out of the car. The air felt heavy. It was as if the house itself was exhaling years of sorrow and secrets. She walked towards the front porch. Each step echoed in the silence. The floorboards creaked under her weight. They groaned like a living thing. She pushed open the front door. The air inside was stale and cold. It clung to her like a shroud. She was home, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like the house was a stranger who had been waiting for her. The faint scent of dust and decay filled her nostrils. It was the smell of forgotten memories, memories that were buried deep within the walls of this house. She walked further inside. Moonlight filtered through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. It cast long, dancing shadows across the room. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist. They took on menacing shapes that made her heart pound in her chest. She remembered playing hide-and-seek with Noah in this very room. Their laughter used to echo through the halls. Now there was only an eerie silence. A silence that was broken only by the sound of her own breath. Each breath was shallow and ragged. She felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Noah, her brother, he had disappeared without a trace. It happened 10 years ago. He had gone into the woods behind their house. He never came back. The police had searched for weeks. They found nothing. No clues, no signs of a struggle, no answers. There was an old abandoned cabin deep in those woods. Locals whispered about it. They said it was haunted. Emily and Noah used to dare each other to go near it. After Noah vanished, Emily searched the cabin. She found nothing but cobwebs and silence. The memory of that day still haunted her. She walked from room to room. Each one was empty. They were filled with the ghosts of their past. She could almost hear the echoes of their laughter. She could almost feel Noah's presence. The air grew colder as she climbed the stairs. The steps creaked under her weight. Each creak sounded like a whispered warning. She reached the top of the stairs. She paused. Her heart was racing. She could hear the blood pounding in her ears. She took a deep breath and walked towards her old room. The door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open. It creaked loudly as if in protest. The room was dark and dusty. The only light came from the moon outside. Section 5. A Letter from Beyond. She saw it on the nightstand. An envelope. It was addressed to her in Noah's handwriting. Her blood ran cold. She picked up the envelope. Her hands were shaking. The paper felt old and brittle. It was as if it had been sitting there for years. She opened it carefully. Inside there was a single sheet of paper. It was folded in half. She unfolded it slowly. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Emily," it read, "I'm sorry. I need your help. Come to the cabin. Please don't tell anyone." The words were written in Noah's handwriting. There was no mistaking it. Section 6. A Glimmer in the Dark. She ran. She raced out of the house and into the night. The woods were dark and foreboding, but she didn't care. She had to get to the cabin. She ran until she reached the edge of the trees. The cabin stood before her. It looked just as she remembered it. Dark, dilapidated, and menacing. She approached cautiously. Her heart was pounding in her chest. She could hear her own breath echoing in her ears. She reached the cabin door and stopped. She could see a light flickering inside. Someone was in there. Section 7. The Face of Deception. Taking a deep breath, Emily pushed the cabin door open. The hinges groaned in protest. The light flickered, casting long shadows across the room. There, standing in the center of the room, was a figure. It was tall and slender, with its back to her. It was Noah. "Noah?" she whispered. The figure turned, a slow, deliberate turn. Emily's breath caught in her throat. It was him, but it wasn't. The face that stared back at her was Noah's, but it was different. Older, gaunter, and with eyes that were filled with a strange, unsettling light. Section 8. Trapped in Terror. "You've grown, Emily," the figure said. Its voice was raspy, as if it hadn't been used in years. Emily took a step back. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What have you done with Noah?" The figure smiled. It was a cruel, twisted smile that sent shivers down her spine. "We are one and the same, sister," it said. "Don't you recognize me?" Emily shook her head. "No," she whispered. "This isn't possible." The figure took a step towards her. "Oh, but it is," it said. "We've been waiting for you, Emily, for so long." Section 9. The Crushing Weight of Truth. Emily stumbled back, her mind reeling. The cabin felt smaller, the air thick and suffocating. The figure that resembled her brother, yet was undeniably not him, exuded an aura of wrongness that chilled her to the core. "What do you want?" Emily's voice was barely a whisper, her throat constricted with terror. The words seemed to hang in the air, heavy with dread. "What we always wanted, Emily," the figure rasped, taking another step closer. "To come home." Home? The word echoed in the silence of the cabin, twisted and distorted. This creature, this imposter, wanted to claim her family, her memories as its own. The truth of the situation crashed over Emily like a tidal wave. This was not a rescue, not a reunion, it was a trap. Section 10. An ending yet to come. Panic seized her. She turned to run, but it was too late. The figure was upon her, its cold, clammy hand clamped over her mouth, stifling her scream. "There's nowhere to run, Emily," the figure hissed into her ear. Its voice was a low growl, filled with a terrifying mix of familiarity and something else, something dark and ancient. "We're going home now, together." Emily struggled against its grasp, her heart pounding against her ribs like a frantic bird in a cage. The scent of decay, stronger now, filled her nostrils, choking her. Her vision blurred, the edges of the cabin dissolving into darkness. As she felt herself being dragged back, deeper into the shadows of the cabin, a single horrifying thought pierced through her terror. What had become of her brother's soul, and what had taken its place?